Welcome to another edition of Tim Graham and Friends, brought to you by CTBK, CPAs and Business Consultants. I do not believe that CTBK will be contacted anytime soon to help broker a merger and or acquisition of the Buffalo Sabres. A very, interesting rumor being floated, or a bad scoop, or however it happened. I don't know. I'd have to get inside the mind of and the sources of Frank Wolf, who tweeted it. But Frank Wolf is a local journalist, mostly entirely covers high school sports, and
he covers the Sabres too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't. Western New York. What do you know, Jonah? I mean, I don't know it off the top of my head, but his organization that does high school sports is Western New York Sports. Is that all it's called? Is that the name of it?
Western New York Athletics.
Western New York Athletics. Okay. There's a website
website.
Right. Okay.
And they do a good job with that in a lot of ways.
Right. So he is enough of a journalist, and that I would think he may have sources.
I wouldn't call him a journalist. And I
publisher.
I know Frank. I like him personally in some ways, but I would call him a media personality, and more. I wouldn't call him a media executive, but he is on the business side of Western New York Athletics, but also the reporting side. But I guess, and not to completely knock him, but I wouldn't call Frank Wolf a journalist. And if Frank Wolf called himself a journalist, I would argue with him about that. So
I see.
If he's going to report something of this magnitude, and somebody said, according to Frank Wolf, I would say, according to your drunk uncle, is about as reliable a source on that type of thing.
Okay, so let me just set the scene here for the people who are listening. So Frank Wolf, though, in my mind, when I see him tweet out that the Pegulas are sending out non-disclosure agreements to prospective owners, people who want to buy the Sabres, it was his report, essentially. I'm paraphrasing. And then he says he's hearing this from multiple sources. All right. So because of Frank Wolf's connection with Western New York Athletics, the publication / the outlet, I think it's possible that he may have made a connection here or there, somebody who's involved with local sports, somebody at the college level or whatever. It's possible. So I didn't dismiss it.
But I'll tell you, I think for sure. I actually think there's smoke. There's some smoke to this fire because Western New York Athletics works very closely with Section 6 sports, Section 6 hockey, and Harbor Center.
Before you get into the explanation, let me just sum it up. So that way, so it caused me to reach out to my sources with Pegula Sports and Entertainment to say, is there any truth to this? In which it was immediately and very forcefully refuted. And in fact, they're very upset about it. No NDAs have been sent out to sell the Sabres, and then there was a thing where people were saying, well, maybe it's to buy a portion of the Sabres. I was able to at least get feedback that not even a percentage of the Sabres are being sold. The Pegulas aren't selling; they're not interested in selling. And so I tweeted that out. I didn't think it was worth a story to write about one person's tweet about it. I batted it down. But anyway, that's why it became a thing today. And so, so then this is where, Jonah, you go now. If you can fill in, No,
I was just going to say, I wouldn't say Frank is making this up out of whole cloth.
No,
Frank Wolf. I would say that he heard something and probably in some ways misinterpreted, didn't do the necessary verification and, what a journalist would do before going to Twitter with some sort of rumor like this. But I don't think that he came up with this in a dream. I do think somebody told him something that leads him to think something is for sale, and maybe something is for sale and it got misinterpreted as that being the Sabres franchise itself when it might be a different property that the Pegulas own.
Yeah. So that was a little bit of journalism, how the sausage is made, kind of Thursday afternoon.
But the Sabres bring this on themselves by credentialing Frank Wolf and from the 300level.com. And I don't think if that was the case. That wasn't the case. I don't think he'd be reporting rumors on the Sabres, or other people wouldn't be paying any attention to the rumors that he's reporting about the Sabres.
I feel like people would pay attention. That's part of the problem is how information travels. I think you're right, Jonah, that it lends a little more credibility to it because he has a credential and because he's been around the team. But people really wanted to believe this rumor today, I think, was part of the problem.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if there's information out there that they want to believe, that they're going to take the slightest bit of credibility and say, well, this guy knows. And
they want it to be true. You're right. And I've said this line so many times on the podcast, on the radio show. I once had a boxing promoter say this to me years ago, and I rolled my eyes. I was like, that's not true. But then as I lived my life, I found out that was words of wisdom. He said, Tim, sometimes people want to be lied to. And I was like, come on, that's a stupid thing to say, but you're right. And I think that's exactly what you're getting at, Matthew, in that people got excited. And even after I knocked down and said, this is 100% false, John Morrow added some tidbits to it. I added yet some more tidbits to it. So there was like all kinds of, this is kind of, this isn't true. And one of the responses I got from a follower on Twitter was, I guess we'll see. It's like, because he needs to believe it. Like I got so excited and I want to hold on to this excitement that the Pagulas might be selling the team that I'm just going to dismiss the fact that it's not true. And
well, that was a few of the responses I saw were, well, yeah, that's why they call them NDAs, right? You know, if it, like, so that this stuff doesn't get out there. And hey, I mean, like Jonah said, something, you know, it didn't come to Frank Wolf in a dream. Something somewhere, you know. And look, if the team wasn't so bad, and if they weren't, you know, I mean, bad doesn't really begin to describe the franchise. It's embarrassing what it's become. Then, you know, this type of stuff. And if they were out in front more, if they spoke more and were more clear about what they were doing, how involved they were, X, Y, and Z, I think a lot of this stuff would, you know, you would prevent some of this stuff from happening. But yeah, people want to believe it. So they'll take whatever, and they're going to probably say, oh, well, Tim's sources at PSE have forcefully refuted this. That's what they want us to think, you know, until that moment comes. But
true enough.
But I don't know that it's even, they bought them pretty recently. So I don't know that it's, they're kind of tangled up. It's a little bit more complicated than going on Facebook Marketplace and listing some old golf clubs.
I'd also say be careful what you wish for if you're a Buffalo Sabres fan and you're hoping that this stable, somewhat locally based ownership group sells the franchise, because that doesn't necessarily mean that the next owner is going to be what you want it to be.
Or even keep the team here.
Right. Or be willing to pay the money that the Pegula family has so far been willing to pay into this franchise, to no good effect so far. But, you know, that's better than certain situations the Buffalo Sabres were in with previous ownership.
Yeah, it's very interesting Thursday on something that I normally wouldn't even take seriously. But there was just enough of potential, and you don't want it. It's a huge story if it's true. So I had to check, and the response I got was that the people who I checked in with regarding this were glad to hear from me, because they were frustrated as hell that this stuff's out there, you know. And I think too that, you know, they sold 716, which is not that huge of a deal, but people see that, they see what's going on with the Sabres. And I think there are a lot of people out there who are kicking the tires. I think the Pegulas are fielding calls. Hey, are you for sale? Or I would like to buy you. And they're given the Heisman stiff arm. And they keep telling people they're not interested. But things like these rumors don't help. So we have Zack Moss on Tim Graham and Friends, brought to you by CTBK. And without further ado, I think we're going to get to him. Is there more ado? Is there anything to ado?
Jonah's shirt, I think, is a.
Oh, I did notice.
Can you guys read that?
I noticed it when we started the segment, and I thought I'd get back to it, and then I almost just totally forgot. It is. Did you have that made?
No, I didn't. I got it free with my subscription. No, I bought it. I saw it somewhere, and I thought it would be funny to wear on this podcast. And I also like to wear it to the gym because at CrossFit, that's the whole thing. They're like, everybody's an athlete. So this is kind of my cynical response to.
For those who are listening
they
and
ask
not
me to do when
watching,
I'm working
it is. It looks like the Athletic, who I and Matthew Fairburn work for, sends out swag a lot, and they'll give out T-shirts with subscriptions and things. And Jonah is wearing a replica that says unathletic. Unathletic. That's right.
I have to distinguish that I don't write for the Athletic like you guys do, and visually, the eye and the ear can't be in competition. We have to show the viewers the same things that they're hearing.
All right. Well, I'm glad we got that straightened out, and we got to talk about how rumors get started a little bit, and how journalists sometimes have to waste a lot of time ferreting out information that is not newsworthy. So, I mean, did I wake up today thinking that it was going to be newsworthy to say the Sabres are not for sale? That should not be newsworthy, but today it was. Okay. Zack Moss, right after this. Tim Graham and Friends is brought to you by CTBK, CPAs and business consultants. CTBK is a leading accounting firm with a growing team of accountants and business consultants with roots in Amherst, New York. CTBK pairs every project with a focus on a human connection between its team and the client. For assurance, accounting, taxes, litigation support, and advice on mergers and acquisitions, CTBK is available and ready to solve any issue your business faces. For a consultation or to request a quote, call 716-630-2400. Again, that's 716-630-2400. CTBK, over a quarter century of proven accounting and business excellence for Western New York and beyond. Joining Tim Graham and Friends, brought to you by CTBK, is Bills running back Zack Moss. Zack, thanks for joining the podcast.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, a great story that Matthew Fairburn did on you in The Athletic, and covered a lot of your background, got into your high school days, what made you who you were, the switch from linebacker to focus on being a running back at college and in the NFL, and it just an incredible journey. And here you are trying to recover from yet another injury heading into 2021. Let's just get a snapshot of Zack Moss. He's got a season under his belt. He's not a rookie anymore. Where's your mind at right now, getting ready for your first full NFL offseason?
I'm in a good spot, man. You know, with everything going on in the world and personally that's, that I've endured and things like that. I'm in a really good spot right now. I'm just, happy to be alive and, being able to continue to get better at my craft and in my health wise and things like that. So I'm just ready really to get back out there and, fully, have a great season and, go out there without having any injuries.
Dak, I know you've had experience rehabbing and stuff like that before, but what's it been like now that you have the access to the facilities that you have? I know you're hanging out here in Western New York to get your work done, and a lot was made when they built that facility and brought in a lot of those things. What was your experience with it your first year, maintenance wise, going through it as a rookie, and then, getting to use some of the rehab stuff?
Yeah, it was really, really good to have so many resources right there at our fingertips. In college, I had a lot of similar things. But, when you get to this level, you have people who are, a little bit more rounded in their profession, and, they can give you more tips and things like that to help you learn new things about your body and help you with corrective things, all type of little small things that really go, a far distance for you and your health and, in this league. And they understand that, you have to be healthy to last in this league, and being available is the best type of player you can be.
What did you take away most from your rookie year, transitioning to the NFL, playing 16 games for the first time? Obviously not the way, um, you know, anybody wanted the season to go in terms of just COVID and everything else, but what did you learn the most making that jump?
I probably would say, how to be a professional each and every day, day in, day out, week in, week out. It's like, it's like an interview each and every day. You can't have, really like a bad day. You got to be able to perform through everything. You got to leave all your personal things at home. No one's going to be holding your hand, telling you to do this, be here, do those type of things. You have to be very, very accountable of yourself. And luckily for me, coming from Utah, they did a really good job of, installing that in us. And, I was able to really transition fairly well, I thought, from college to the league and, all those different things, kind of being your own person, your own man in a business.
What about game planning to go from a position at Utah where you were a nucleus of that offense to transitioning into the NFL, sharing time, which is one thing, but then on an offense that really was very predicated on the pass? How do you have to rewire your brain to, whether it be practice to practice or the weekly game plan, and trying to figure out how much you were going to get used every week?
Yeah, that part was, it was kind of like interchangeable parts. You just never knew week in, week out what was kind of going to happen. And that's the league, honestly, man. I think you can't really pick any team that you just know, besides a few teams that you just know, all right, this is their identity. This is what they're going to do. We change week to week from the teams and the guys who were playing. So, that was a thing that helped us a lot this season, helped us have a lot of success. But, I've been in a system where, it was kind of pass first. I played in that in high school, and then a bit in college and things like that, and I've worked so hard to, kind of want to be that focal point on the offense. So, being a rookie and, coming from college where I was, like you said, like one of those focal points on the team, coming here, having to share time, it was all like a learning experience for me. It helped me grow, I think, a little bit more than I would have if, say I was just the number one guy. So, I had a lot of learning experiences through this first season, and it was a lot of good and some bad. But, at the end of the day, I learned a lot, and, hopefully that's able to, catapult me over to season 2. And, I'm able to do a lot more things in the offense.
Where's the line between sharing a role in a backfield and being a good teammate? And you see it with all kinds of sports, in hockey, maybe there's a team that alternates its goalies a little bit more frequently, but there's also, you didn't get to where you are if you didn't want to be the man. What's the fine line as and granted, you're only entering your second NFL season, and maybe it's still something that needs to be learned, but where's that fine line between being a team player, but also not being happy? Because it is also good for your team to push and to try to make everybody better.
Yeah, I mean, we did a really good job of doing that each and every week. Me and Motor definitely just push each other, being from the same hometown and knowing each other for a while and things like that. So we always kept pushing each other day in, day out in practice, and things like that. But, like you said, like it's definitely is a fine line where you want to be that guy. Everybody, you're alpha male in this league. You don't get here without being alpha. You want to be that number one person. But, I think it was a bit easier for me to, kind of be okay in the role, and, just do everything I possibly could when my number was called to help the team get to where we got to. Because I was a rookie, being my first year in, learning the ropes, learning things, and kind of seeing how things go. I think if you are a guy who's year 6 in the league, something like that, when you kind of know how this league works, you definitely probably don't want to be a role player or in that certain role and things like that. But for me, it was a little bit easier to it helped me, like I said, it helped me grow and understand things and see things from different perspectives. I played where I started the game, and then I was mostly definitely the backup for the most of the year. So I also got to see things through that lens as well. So, you know, like I said, like hopefully all those things, all those different tools that I learned throughout this, my first season can help, you know, catapult me into year 2 where, I go out there and, give everything I got.
What did when we spoke a few weeks ago, you talked about pass protection, and I find that to be an interesting element for rookie running backs. It's a big part of getting on the field, and maybe not, something that people don't realize is a big part of the transition. What is it about that part, recognizing blitzes, pass protection, that maybe you learned and kind of grew in as your rookie year went along?
I mean, pass protection for me has always been something, that was very, very important since probably my sophomore year in college. Once my college coach got to Utah, my running back coach there, Coach McDonald, once he got there, that was one of the first things he installed. And that's one of the things he harped on more than the run game. Anybody can run the ball, anybody can get 5-6 yards and things like that. But it's very hard to find someone who consistently wants to stick their nose and pick blitz pickups, understand blitz pickups, understand rushers, and get down with that dirty work and continuously do that. You know what I mean? So for me, that was very important. And I knew me and him had many conversations of how this would be very important for me playing in the league, for one, to get here, and then to also stay in this league. It's a quarterback's league. The league has changed where it passed the ball a lot. So when you got a guy like Josh and all these other great quarterbacks in the league, you got to keep these guys clean. It's very important. You're kind of like part of the offensive line. So you got to keep him clean and keep him healthy as much as you can. And you got to be able to put your body on the line for a guy like that to help win games. And it's about being a great teammate. So I took a lot of pride in that, and I always wanted to make sure that I kept Josh as clean as I possibly could. I didn't want to give up any sacks and hurry plays and things like that. And, that's one of my biggest things when I go into a game, is just to go out there and make sure that I'm 100% on my assignments.
Zach, I was thinking about the contrast from the season before. Devin Singletary was a rookie running back with a Hall of Fame veteran, Frank Gore, helping to guide him. What was it like for you having somebody more closer to your age, more of a peer as a veteran helping you along? And was there any wisdom that was passed down from Frank to Devin onto you this season?
Yeah, definitely. Devin did a good job of, letting me know how the league works, and just keeping my head, leveled when I had bad days or a bad game, or, if I didn't perform to the level I wanted to, or didn't get a lot of carries this game or touches, whatever it may be. We did a good job of just, being there for each other and just, making sure that we knew that, hey, whatever is whatever, as long as we went in and, whatever our number does get called, we got to make sure we show up and do the things that we need to be able to do. And, I think definitely some of that came from Frank, him being in the league for so long. He's seen a lot of things. And Devin was definitely lucky to be able to, play with a guy like that for 1 year. So we did a good job, I think, of just being consistent backs over the year, no matter what was going on in, the news or anything like that. We just made sure we did our job to the best of our abilities.
It's funny. I was going to ask you a Frank Gore question, because you being from South Florida and Frank being such a legend, both as a high school and college running back down in South Florida. But when he turned pro, you were 7 years old. Do you even have any recollection of Frank Gore as a Miami Hurricane? Or, I mean, I know you've heard the stories and everything. You can't be a running back from South Florida and not, but you missed out on this legend, and yet maybe you're so young and he's played for so long that you're not even of the same generation. It's hard to imagine you guys being peers.
Yeah, it's literally like 2 generations there, probably.
2, yeah, you're right. His son is about to enter the NFL, right?
Yeah, everyone knows Frank down there in Miami, man. Even if you don't play football, Frank Gore, a lot of those legends that played at the University of Miami, and things like that. So, I've watched a lot of Frank Gore tape from San Fran days, Indy days, from college days and things like that. I've watched a lot of his tape before, so I knew exactly who he was. I know exactly how big of a legend he is in this league and back home and things like that. So just be able to, when we played the Jets twice, I was able to meet him both times. So that was, just kind of shocking to me just to be able to be on the same field. And then he also gave me a few, little tips and things like that to, help me enhance my game and things like that. So, it was really, really, a blessing to be on the same field as that guy.
Did you have any hype videos that you'd watch, or guys, because you can get it so many different places on YouTube, younger, or maybe even now that you're still in the NFL, is there video you like to watch that gets you worked up?
The one that I always make sure I watch, and I started watching a few different guys, I like a lot of backs in college now, in the league now, and things like that. But I think the one that always hits me the hardest, hits me home, is the Marshawn Lynch one that I first started watching. When I first started playing running back in high school, I would watch his highlight tapes from Seattle before games in high school. I would do it in college, and I still did it, my first year in the league. And, being at the team where he first stepped into the league as well is kind of surreal when you kind of, wrap your head around everything like that. But, Marshawn is definitely a guy that I always make sure I watch before game day.
How much do you think growing up where you grew up, and as Tim mentioned, kind of being surrounded by a lot of good running backs, past and present, how much do you think that drove you to get to this point? The fact that you're able to come out of that area as a running back and do what you've done, how much did that mold you?
I definitely think it played a part. Yeah, I can't really say, give like a percentage on how much it helped and things like that. But when you have a chance to just go on YouTube and you can search up guys that play right in your back of your yard, it definitely goes a long way, because you feel as a kid growing up and things like that, hey, these guys did it from being right here. Why can't I also do that? You know what I mean? So, it kind of sparks you to also want to continue a trend in a way. Even if you don't know these guys, you kind of continue a trend of backs, players coming out of South Florida. We take a lot of pride in football down there, and, we love when people, kind of debate about who has the best football players. It's Texas, California, things like that. And we love to say it's South Florida and things like that. So, being a part of that tradition and things like that, definitely one motivated me a bit.
Also a part of the Utah Ute family. Since we're talking about guys and legends that you've met, have you ever gotten to meet Chris Fuamatu-Ma'afala?
I haven't.
Okay. Because my next question was going to be, can you spell Fuamatu-Ma'afala?
Definitely not.
I used to be able to back when I wrote about that conference. Anyway, he was a lot of fun to watch. Does he ever come up at Utah? I mean, he was a great running back there.
I'm sure he does, man. I don't really, I can't really picture his face right now and put his name to it, but I'm pretty sure, man. We had a lot of people always come back. Steve Smith came back to the school a few times, and even Urban Meyer came back one time while I was there. So a lot of people who come through Utah, they always come back and show appreciation and things like that. So that was pretty cool, just seeing certain people come through back.
That was unfair of me to put you on the spot with with a name that not only has probably, I might have 12 different letters and punctuation in there. There's dashes, there's an accent mark. It wasn't fair. I'm sorry.
You good.
Zach, I think tell the story of how you ended up at Utah. I think it's so interesting how we talk about Frank Gore, we talk about all these South Florida backs, and the University of Miami's right in your backyard. I really enjoyed hearing how you ended up at Utah. I mean, what drove that decision, and how was your experience out there?
Yeah, so I mean, me picking Utah was kind of a long shot kind of thing. It wasn't something that I planned or I just knew. I was committed to the University of Miami at first. I think my junior year of high school, I received the offer from there, and I instantly committed, right? You're from Miami, I have cousins that went there, I have family that went there, and all this type of stuff. And they were kind of trying to make that comeback kind of thing at the moment and things like that. So it was a perfect time to buy in, and it was so many players that I knew from high schools around. that was also going there. I can count on my hands how many times I went down there a week because it's just so close. But, once the season played through, my senior season played through, and I just kind of had a chance to figure out what I wanted to do again, I kind of really felt like Miami wasn't the place where I wanted to be. I wanted to go somewhere where I could kind of just grow by myself, kind of mature as a young man by myself. I can have my mom, my dad, my brothers, sisters, aunties, cousins, literally everybody at my fingertips if I went to the University of Miami, right? So if I went through something at the University of Miami, I wouldn't have had a chance to really go through it by myself. I would always have someone to, have their hand out or fall back on. And I didn't want that to, be a part of me. I wanted to go somewhere where I kind of had to go through things by myself. It came down to Utah or Tennessee. And my mom wanted me to go to Tennessee if I wasn't going to go to Miami. So she was like, all right, well, Tennessee's close enough. I can get there and, come up there a lot. And, I thought about going there. One of my cousins went there and I was like, man, this is, it's an SEC school. It's a very, very storied program and things like that. And, at the time they had Alvin Kamara. They had a few guys, NFL guys. And, I thought about that very, very hard. And I think the reason that I know the reason I picked Utah was because, for one, I realized I can come in there and I can play right away. The coaches talked to me and they let me know, hey, well, playing time would be something that if you come in, you learn the playbook, things like that. You can come in and, show what you got. And two of my teammates from high school, our quarterback who was at Utah, and one of our receivers, Damari Simpkins and Tyler Huntley, they both went out to Utah as early enrollees. And they would just tell me about it and how much they liked it and how different it was and things like that. And I was like, okay. So I ended up going out there for official visit. And to this day, I can't remember much about the visit because it was in January, it was cold, it was snowing, and it was all that type of stuff. But the only thing I remember was going snowmobiling and how fun that was. And being around the program, being around the players, I felt like I can be myself there at the same time. And that was one of the biggest things for me. I didn't want to have to feel like I had to fit in somewhere to coaches, to players, if I'm going to be somewhere for 4 years. And Utah just felt like the perfect place. I already knew 2 people there. There was some few more guys from South Florida that was up there already that I also knew. So that just felt like it was the perfect place. You can't write a better story on how everything just kind of played out for myself, in my time there.
I saw in your bio in the Buffalo Bills media guide that you enjoy mountain climbing, which is something you can't do in the state of Florida. The highest point is probably on a golf course somewhere near the Panhandle. Tell me, and I don't know what this is, but I feel like there might be something. Tell me about the very first time, what got into you and what the experience was like when somebody talked you into going mountain climbing.
So it wasn't really mountain climbing. It was more of like, doing trails kind of up mountains and, kind of doing that type of thing.
Mountain hiking.
Yeah, more like that. So I did that a few times, various places in Utah while I was there. And then, there's just something where you can go, you can clear your mind. Sometimes I went by myself, and I could just clear my mind. I can just take in the scenery and, just have a chance to be grateful for, life. And you could see this beautiful scenery that you don't get to see in Miami. You get different things everywhere you go. So Utah is one of the more nicer places where you can really get a lot of different things. And, that was kind of the biggest thing for me where I wanted to just get out and try and do those things. So it was very fun though.
Have you gotten to do any of that in Western New York at all?
I haven't because of this whole COVID thing. So when we were in season, man, I was facility back home. I didn't even want to put myself in that predicament of, getting COVID or, giving it to my girlfriend as well. So, that was the biggest thing for me, and just making sure that I stay as healthy on that part. Some things that you can control, you want to be able to make sure that you control those things. So I haven't, but right now, as I'm going through this whole rehab process and finally getting able to back to walking, I definitely want to get out and see some new things around here for sure.
Jonah, what would you recommend? You're the only native Western New Yorker on this panel.
There's people that probably know. There's a lot of trails, I don't know them all. There's people that would be better to recommend them. I do know that there's a whole trail system and very scenic at Niagara Falls, and I've done that myself a time or two. So when you're up for it, physically, I think that's a good place to start. It's not a real. There is some steps at certain parts, but you can go all the way from downtown Niagara Falls all the way up to Art Park, and it's a nice hike for people from all over. Come to Niagara Falls to do those trails.
Okay, I got you.
Letchworth Park is a go-to. Obviously, have you heard people talk about Letchworth, Zach?
I just heard about it like 2 days ago, and me and my girlfriend are actually going up there this weekend. I just couldn't remember the name of it, and I didn't want to say.
You're going this weekend?
Yeah, we're going this weekend. Just go get out, take a little drive, and see what we got there.
There we go. Oh, we hit on something then. So that's I've never been. I've lived in Western New York since 2000. With the exception of 4 years in between where I was doing some other stuff, and I've never made it, and it's a regret of mine. It's because it's there, I think, is one of the reasons I think, I'll go next week or I'll go next month. But it's gorgeous. I think, although it's tricky, Bills might want you to sign a waiver before you go out to Letchworth.
Oh, really? Why?
I think there's some trails that are kind of tricky and don't have some guardrails that should, and stay away from the edge.
The one to stay away from is Zor Valley. That's in the newspaper every 6 months or so for somebody having a bad time out at Zor Valley.
All right. Where is Zor Valley?
Yeah, I don't know. I can look it up.
Makes it easy to stay away
down
from
in the southern tier area, East Aurora, maybe.
Oh yeah, I think I've crossed by there. I think I haven't done Letchworth either, but it's supposed to be good.
Zach, how beyond doing some hiking around Western New York, what is your mindset here for this off season? How do you attack it? And there's some unfinished business all the way around, personally, team related. There's all kinds of for a team that was really good. There's still a lot of chips on shoulders that can be had and found, and all kinds of ways to be motivated. To make 2021 even better.
Yeah, and I think that's the best thing about our team. We have so many guys, who have chip on their shoulders that, even after the season that we just had, it's so much more that we want. But, speaking personally for me, I definitely want to make sure that I come back 100%, and I'm able to help this team, all the way through the season to get where we want to be at, help improve our run game. That's something that I feel that we lacked a lot to help us really get, back to where we want to be this year. And then, hopefully, take that next step in being in the Super Bowl. Just everyone knows, kind of what they have to do. And everyone, I think, is working definitely hard to get there. So that way, when the season rolls back around, we're at full strength. We know what we want. We know how to get there now. That's the thing. We went through games where we stalled a lot, and we went through games where we just blew the doors off of it. So we kind of know our identity going into this season, and I think that's a really good thing to have coming back into this season and getting to that AFC Championship game, knowing how that game played out and how we lost that game, and we feel like we can play with anybody in this league, and that's exactly what we want to go out there and show this season, and not come up short this time.
What was your impression of playing with Josh Allen? You got here right as he was breaking out as a MVP candidate. Takes away some of your goal line carries. He's a guy that's probably a little tricky to block for sometimes because he's moving around all over the place. But what was your impression of having kind of a front row seat to that this year?
Yeah, I didn't know much about Josh when I first got here, and I got a chance to meet him for the first time. I was out in California where, a few of us, the rookies, we came out there. We worked out with Josh and Mike Barkley. And the first time I saw him, I just saw this big dude who wasn't like really defined and things like that, but he was just super big. I was like, all right, this is a big dude. And, you know, the way he threw a ball, the power he threw a ball, I remember the first time he threw me like a swing pass, I dropped it because I didn't know the ball was coming that hard, right? And he throws the ball super hard and fast and, you know, with a really good spiral on it without really even trying. Like, the dude is very, very, you know, naturally gifted in a lot of things that he does on the football field. But, you know, playing with him this year, seeing the things that he did, seeing the numbers he put up, and just seeing the leader and the warrior he is, he's really a warrior. I don't think many quarterbacks, you know, get after their guys and play like, you know, if he's not a quarterback, like he really plays if he's not a quarterback. He's a very physical guy. And sometimes it might have like, Josh, you got to slide, bro, something. But he's just that's the way he plays. You know, you don't want to change a player when that's the way, you know, they are. But seeing him do the things that he did this season was just it was just crazy, because you as a kid and as a young player in this league, coming from college just a year removed and things like that, and watching the league for so long, you see all these quarterbacks have these crazy years, these MVP years, and now being able to share a field with someone who just pretty much did that. It was just kind of remarkable in the things he's able to do, being only his third or fourth year now, and he has so far to go. And, you know, he definitely feels like he can improve all over. So this being his first real crazy year, I think he has a lot of those years left in him. And, you know, it's really good for us to have a guy like that, because, you know, that puts us up there with a lot of teams that we can, you know, go toe to toe with.
It's strange to say, but your only experience with Josh Allen is this magical year that fans in around Buffalo aren't used to. But before you arrived, there were a lot of questions about Josh, and I'm putting myself in your shoes. It's probably hard to imagine that there were question marks about a guy who played so well, but people were wondering, you know, does this guy really have it? And then your experience is everybody nuts? Of course, this guy has it.
Yeah, I think it's normal though. I mean, you look at a lot of guys who are Hall of Famers, you know, even in their first 2, maybe 3 years, it wasn't what people seen in the later parts of their career. I mean, the first guy that I could think about that comes to my mind as a quarterback was Peyton Manning. A guy threw like over 20 picks in his first year. So when you think about that and see the career he's had, if Josh is able to, you know, do any half of that, or, you know, match that with the athletic ability he has, you know, it's really, you know, the sky's the limit for a guy like him. So, you know, when guys struggle in the first couple of years and things like that, you know, and then they go out there and do a thing like Josh just did this year, that just shows you how much the person really cares, one, and all the work that they've been putting in to improve, and, you know, shows how much they actually love the process of things that, you know, life brings you.
We're able to get a feel for, or how much we're able to get a feel for his leadership, given the constraints you guys had in the locker room. Usually we get to be in the locker room and we see a little bit of how you guys are interacting, but I imagine it was a weird year for that, with the distancing and not being able to see each other outside of the facility. How did you guys manage to build such a tight chemistry without those usual built-in, you know, ways to do it?
I think it started way back in the off season. You know, for one, this team had a lot of guys already that were, you know, been here for a few years and things like that. But, you know, Josh and, you know, other guys in different parts of the team, they did a good job of just, you know, getting rookies, getting, you know, guys who we're going to be asked to step up in the offense this year, getting with them and just making sure that, you know, whatever they needed, you know, a lot of things went through the Zoom calls. We had guys that weren't going to play at all stepping up and really, you know, kind of leading extra meetings, just making sure everyone knew exactly what they had to do. And, you know, so when you go with all that type of stuff, it was kind of easier, because once everyone got there, it felt like everyone already knew each other. You know, Josh is one of those guys where, yeah, he's the quarterback, but he doesn't make himself seem unapproachable. You know what I mean? He's going to come up to you. He's going to joke around with you. He's going to give you a nickname, give you all these different type of high fives and joke around and play around with you and just make you feel comfortable. You know what I mean? He's not going to make you feel like, oh man, I'm in the NFL. Let me really tighten down. You know, he's going to let you be loose, allow yourself to be comfortable, because that's when you obviously are going to be at your best. So, you know, he's not your traditional leader where he's going to give you a 10-minute speech and get loud and rowdy and fire you up and things like that. But, you know, when he does say something, you know, you just like, all right, I'm ready to play for this guy.
It's a lot different. Here's a little bit of obscure Bills history for you, Zach, but it sounds a lot different than Jim Kelly, whose pregame routine and guys weren't ready to leave the locker room until he threw up, because he was notoriously a bundle of nerves before every game, a legend that he is, you know, Hall of Fame quarterback, but he would get so worked up before games that the guys would wait. All right, there goes Jim, where we can go out we can take the field now. That's a little bit of a different rallying cry.
Definitely
sounds like with Josh Allen.
Yeah, definitely is.
What do you think? You mentioned as a goal, as a team, to establish the run a little bit more. Can you elaborate on that? What do you think needs to happen?
I mean, guys, we just need to step up overall, and you know, really kind of take this thing, you know, by the bullhorn, and just make sure we do what we need to do each and every play. You know, I mean, sometimes, you know, run game is a tricky thing, because for one, you need to, you know, be able to be consistent at it. It's not where you can just pop runs whenever you want to. You know, it's a very, very consistent thing, and the carries kind of have to be there for guys to get in rhythm, not just the backs, but people forget that the offensive line have to get into rhythms. You know, their footsteps, their hands, their helmet placement, and things like that. All these small technical things that really help the backs and the run game overall. So, you know, those things just really continue to just get better at, and I think we will. You know, I think a lot of guys knew how big the run game was missed, because the previous year, the run game was a big staple in the offense. But then also, when you add a guy like Diggs, it's kind of hard to, you know, sit there and run the ball, because, you know, he's a very, very talented guy, and things that he was able to do in his first year in the offense, you know.
It's hard to get upset when everything else was working so well.
Yeah, like when you know, if we're just sitting there throwing the ball 6 times and you're losing, maybe you get upset, you know what I mean? But when you're throwing the ball X amount of times and you're winning, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about being a team, you know. And once you have one selfish person in the group, you know, that kind of just spreads around the team, you know, and that just starts the bickering, it starts this, it starts that, you know. And we knew what we had as a team. We knew we had a really, really special team. And no one wanted to make sure that all the spotlight was on them. You know, if I got 0 carries, but I helped Josh be clean in the pocket, you know, the whole game, and help him throw for 400 or 500 yards, and we won, you know, that's the biggest thing that you want to be able to do. Because at the end of the day, you know, stats are great and all that type of stuff, but you want to win Super Bowls. And, you know, when you have guys that are playing at this type of caliber right now, you definitely want to make sure that you're doing everything you possibly can to, you know, be a part of that team and help this team succeed.
How much did that make you appreciate those games, like the Patriots game, the end of that Steelers game, where it was like, all right, now it's on me, and I'm going to get the ball, like, you know, to have it be a little bit more sporadic than it was in college? How much did it make you appreciate it when it was there?
It definitely helped me appreciate it a lot more. I mean, it was great. You know, it was a few games where, you know, I definitely had to close out some games when, you know, the offense was like, all right, here we go. Let's just finish this game out. And, you know, and that was a chance for me to really show, you know, what I can do, you know, when given consistent chances and things like that. So, you know, I definitely know I belong in this league and I can play in this league from things that I've done in my first year. So, you know, that was big for me to go out there and help the team win those games and things like that. But, you know, that just gives us a stepping stone as an offense and as a running back group as a whole, knowing next year, you know, when our number is called, man, we've shown that we can do it. So let's just do it and do it on a consistent basis. And, you know, let's pretty much make it a game where, all right, you know, we're balling so good that you kind of got to give us the ball. You got to kind of take it out of the air, you know, and that's kind of what we, you know, it's our mindset.
What did you think about the way Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl against Kansas City, running the ball? And the Chiefs, I know everybody's been saying it since the end of the season. They're clearly the standard. They're what you have to shoot for. To know that, and you do play the Chiefs again next year, that maybe there's a solution, and it might be on your, well, I don't want to say you, the backfield, because you do, it's a team concept, but it might be running the ball. And you might be the key to figuring this out.
Yeah, I mean, watching the Super Bowl, it just shows you that old school football works. Doesn't matter if you're in 2040, old school football works, and it's always going to work. When you're playing a team like the Chiefs, people like to say that, they missed 2 offensive tackles. Mahomes was injured, but everyone's injured at that point in the season, somehow, some way, But, they did it the way that you have to beat the Chiefs, in the way where they throw the ball all game, right? So if you take possessions away from them, and if your defense goes out there and gets you a 3 and out, you can't go out there and just have another 3 and out and then put that type of offense right back on the field, right? You're tiring out your defense. They run a lot of vertical routes and things like that. So you kind of have to play football where you're helping each other. If it's in special teams, if it's an offense or defense, you got to help each other out. And I think the Bucs played probably the perfect game to beat the Chiefs. Doesn't matter if they were at full strength or not, because they ran the ball, and the game is won in the trenches, the offensive line and D-line, and they won that battle for 4 quarters straight. And if Mahomes had 400 yards, it kind of wouldn't have did much, the way they were being so effective in the trenches, and Fournette and Jones. And, once you get the run game going, it makes it easy for a guy. Well, it makes it easier for a guy like Brady to sit back there and just, throw those little darts everywhere around the field off the play action. So, like I said, old school football works. And that's kind of the way you have to play the Chiefs. You have to be physical with them, and, can't continue to push your defense on the field over and over and over and over, and ask them to stop, something so deadly as the Chiefs offense.
Before we let you go, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about some of the stuff that you've done in the community, and in a weird year to do it, to get involved in your community. How did you kind of settle on the things that you have? I know you're doing stuff with the Utah Food Bank and the Lackawanna Life Center as well. At a time when that type of stuff is needed the most, with what we're all going through, but also probably harder to have that, personal connection that you want. But
yeah.
What have you been able to get done since you got into the league?
I've been able to do a lot of good things with a lot of good people around helping me, kind of guide me into these things. And, that was something that I always made sure that I wanted to do. I let people know, hey, this is something I want to do. Once things open up, or if it's any type of way I can do anything, let me know. And let's kind of, combine and, collab on things, and let's work together. So, we was able to do a lot of good things, and we're still doing a lot of good things where we're trying to continuously do something. And now, kind of reaching outside of Buffalo with the Utah Food Bank. And then hopefully, next will be back home in Miami, where I'm able to, do more things with this entire, COVID situation. It's been hard. But the Lackawanna Life Center is something that we've been working with this past season and things like that. And we were able to work with them and help them raise money for the Lackawanna Life Center, which is going to provide, shelter, a gymnasium, medical staff on point there, to help the people in that community and things like that. And it's really a blessing to be able to be a part of other people who have these great, ideas as well. It's not just myself, it's, my girlfriend helps a lot with this stuff. I have a marketing team that helps a lot with this stuff and helps us find new ventures where we can, step out and things like that. And like another thing we're doing is we working with the mayor of Buffalo with a Black History Month little contest for kids and things like that, to just, kind of reach out to them and, kind of get their brains moving and things like that. So it's a lot of things you can do with the virtual world still. it's kind of like, in a way, not an excuse for you to not kind of be doing some type of good when you're given the platform and you're given the opportunity to do that.
When you mentioned that you always knew you wanted to get involved in some way whenever you got settled in or started your career, why is that? What was it? Why was that inside you, or what did you want? What motivated you to want to do that?
I grew up in a lesser community. I grew up in the inner cities of Miami. And, you know, just seeing so many people around you struggle, you know, you're being one person, you can't help everyone. You know what I mean? It's different avenues where you can reach out with your hands and help people. So that part, just growing up in inner city Miami, seeing people struggle, you know, I knew if I was blessed to be in this position one day where I can actually, you know, make a small imprint on someone's lives. I felt like I just needed to do that. I know it would go a long way. You know, I feel like if I had someone, an athlete or whatever it may be, a celebrity, whatever, from, you know, Miami, where I was able to, you know, meet them, hold a Zoom call with them, get a pair of signed gloves for doing something positive. You know, I feel like that would have went a long, long way. So I'm just trying to make sure that I do everything I can with all the blessings that I've been bestowed upon me. So I make sure that I'm going out there and doing the same thing.
Well, I think Lackawanna's lucky to have you contributing there. And Lackawanna is one of those towns, I think, that gets overlooked so many times because with Buffalo right there, obviously the natural thing is to get involved in Buffalo, but there are some suburbs that are coping with problems, and they have to fight for some attention somehow. How did you get involved with what? So maybe there's a story behind that. Why Lackawanna?
So my marketing dude out here in Buffalo is from Lackawanna. His name is Pat Matthews. So he is the head guy at the marketing company called Avalon Media Sports. So being able to, you know, get with him and his people as well was very, very fortunate for myself to partner up with him. And, you know, we are brewing so many great ideas to continue to get, you know, from Lackawanna to different parts of, you know, the entire, you know, Western New York. We're trying to continue to find ways to do things in the safest ways right now. It's a little bit easier, you know, pre-COVID and things like that. But even though we're still trying to figure out ways to continue to do things, and, you know, he's a great mind, and he's, you know, he worked at Buffalo, the Bills for a while. So he knows, you know, the city in and out, and he knows a lot of people. So, you know, I've been lucky to just, you know, have the mindset that I have, and then know a guy with so many different connections to go ahead now and just kind of present ourselves and, you know, do the best that we can do.
Well, best of luck with that. It sounds like it's working well.
I appreciate it, man.
I guess to wrap things up, I do want to, just for the listeners and maybe for Zach's own benefit, I have it here in front of me. Fuamatu-Ma'afala is spelled FUAMATU-MA accent mark AFALA.
That's
Chris,
definitely more than 12 letters.
Yeah, Chris Fuamatu-Ma'afala, which I learned how to say, and I guess it gets embedded in your brain that I don't have to fight through it, was at Utah from 95 to 97. He left a year early. He was a load, 6 foot, 252, ended up playing with the Steelers and the Jaguars. And because I looked up his name today, I see today's his birthday. So maybe it was fate that Chris Fuamatu-Ma'afala has an imprint here in on this podcast. Zach, anything else you want to mention that we didn't ask you about?
No, man, I think I'm all good, man. I definitely appreciate you guys having me on and, you know, giving me a chance to come on here and, you know, have a chance to speak with you guys for sure.
Well, you're not really speaking to us, and I get that. You're speaking to the fans, and we're happy to be the conduit to help people find out what's up with Zack Moss. how he's doing, what he's thinking, and we're grateful that you gave us your time.
Man, no, absolutely, man.
All right. Take care, Zack.
All right, guys. You have a good one.
Tim Graham and Friends is brought to you by CTBK, CPAs and business consultants. CTBK is a leading accounting firm with a growing team of accountants and business consultants with roots in Amherst, New York. CTBK pairs every project with a focus on a human connection between its team and the client. For assurance, accounting, taxes, litigation support, and advice on mergers and acquisitions, CTBK is available and ready to solve any issue your business faces. For a consultation or to request a quote, call 716-630-2400. Again, that's 716-630-2400. CTBK, over a quarter century of proven accounting and business excellence for Western New York and beyond.